Just so you all know, sometimes when I come to film, so my studio is in my mom's house, right? All the rooms in my house are taken. So years ago when I moved back to this area, my mom was generous and said, you can use a spare room in our house as your studio. And so every time I come, almost every week, not every week, but almost every week, there is something in my studio for me from my mom and my stepdad, whether it be like a random thing they don't need anymore, or like one thing I asked for, or mail I didn't know I was having here, or whatever. This week, it is a giant bag of candy. So, thanks, Mom. Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever. Today I'm going to be talking about Zapped. Zapped is a 2014 Disney Channel original movie about a girl named Zoe who is suddenly surrounded by a lot of men. Her mom marries a man who has 3 sons. She's got 3 stepbrothers, and then she goes to a new school because they moved, and it's just a lot of men who really disgust her, and she happens upon an app that lets her control them. It is directed by Peter DeLuise, cinematography by James Alfred Menard, editing by Richard Schwadel, music by James Jandrich, and it's written by Matt and Billy Eddy. It's also based on a book called Boys or Dogs by Leslie Margolis, and I could not find a summary to do a comparison. The film stars Zendaya as Zoe, Chanelle Harquail-Ivsak as Rachel, Spencer Boldman as Jackson, Emilia McCarthy as Taylor, Adam DiMarco as Adam, William Ainscough as Ben, Aleks Paunovic as Ted, and Connor Cowie as Zach. This was released on the Disney Channel in the US on June 27, 2014, had 5.7 million viewers, which was the most watched broadcast on cable that night. There are some really interesting shot choices in this film that really, I think, elevated it to another level. Stuff from, like, inside the toilet bowl, a lot of, like, POV from certain appliances made it really interesting. And then the choices they made for, like, when the men are going to obey her because she spoke through the app or whatever, they always do, like, a zoom in as the boys always go, like, and, like, the zoom in they do and everything, it was really great visual way to show that the command was taking over them and they were going to do it instead of just them doing it. I thought that was really interesting and a great way to visually exemplify it happening. I really enjoyed some of the cinematography in this. I think it was probably one of, if not the better part of this. On the flip side, the music is kind of all over the place. It's very mixed signals. There's dancing stuff going on that's really like hip-hoppy and dancey, and then there's stuff playing during Zoe and Jackson's like little love moment that sounds super stock, like guitar love moment, which doesn't really suit the rest of the vibe in my opinion. It just is a lot of mixed signals music-wise, and I do think it's a weaker part of the film. This movie is interesting because you've got Zendaya, who I believe this is toward the tail end of her Disney career because she's, like, looks older in this, and in researching, when this movie came out, she was 18. So she was right at the, like, becoming an adult age for this. On the flip side, there are some others that are like 20, 22, so like at least she's aged appropriately with the rest of them, of the actors, but obviously they're all supposed to be playing high schoolers, so that's a whole other can of worms. I digress from that. What is interesting to me is this movie has a lot of potential. And I described it when watching it as like, I feel like we like get up here and then we dip down here and then we get up here in quality and then we dip down here. I feel like it's really all over the place quality wise. It has some really interesting aspects, some really good things that are being driven home. And then it's got some other sides that are like, what are we doing? This is kind of gross. This is too much. And I think it's probably because they were trying to tackle too much. I don't know what the book reads like. I have no idea. They are like almost trying to go for like cell phones and being on your smartphone so much is a bad idea. I don't feel like it's the most important lesson in this movie. And then it's also like semi saying boys will be boys, which is like not the greatest lesson, but like they just went about it the wrong way instead of being like accept them and their craziness for who they are, not accept bad behavior toward you. Like, you know what I mean? So like, okay. And then you have, let me set it for you. Right in the opening is the wedding, like it's the wedding reception of Zendaya's mom. So Zoe's mom has gotten married to a man called Ted, and he has 3 sons, and they have a dog. And so she's giving a little speech, and she's like, we've accepted, you know, 5 new men, including the dog, into our lives, and now I'm gonna have to be living with them. And you can tell she's got a lot of disdain for that. She doesn't want to go from just being her and her mom to being her mom, 4 boys, and a dog. That's a lot. And you kind of get that, and then chaos ensues. The boys cause mayhem. She gets covered in a chocolate fountain, which would hurt, by the way. That would burn. Chocolate in chocolate fountains is hot, because otherwise it won't flow through the fountain. So that would hurt so bad. So that's a little unrealistic. But anyway, then it's all like the home stuff is really interesting. That's the stuff I think they should have stuck with, where it's a huge adjustment for her. Her and her mom were the ones to move. They moved into this house. She now has to share bathrooms with these boys. She now has to get used to whatever their morning routine is versus her morning routine. She has to adjust to a new school where all these boys are rude to her right away. And she's really passionate. There's a whole story about, like, she's really passionate about dance and was supposed to compete in state and loves the dance, like, wants to be part of the dance team. And then she meets this boy, Jackson, and there's a romance with this, like, cool, loner, smart guy who at first I thought was going to be a bad boy, but was just, like, the hipster, cool, smart loner. He was giving, like, he was supposed to be like Todd and Easy A, but like only Penn Badgley could do that convincingly. Like, does that make sense? And then on top of that, you have a rival between the JV dance team and the varsity dance team, and this girl Taylor is just like immediately salty at Zoe's character because Jackson flirted with Zoe's character, which has nothing to do with Zoe, and Zoe had no idea, you know, that Taylor and Jackson have a history. How could she know that? It was her first day at school, and so now Taylor's got beef with Zoe without Zoe even knowing it, so now there's beef between the dancing people, and then she gets an app that can control men. There is a lot going on in this story where if I feel like you get rid of the romance with Jackson, so unnecessary, and just let Taylor be threatened by the fact that Zoe is a very good dancer, so Zoe could, like, not be the, like, could be the best dancer and take over Taylor's, like, title as the best dancer. You don't need a boy to cause drama between them if you want to keep the dancing aspect of it to be, like, a passion of hers. But then we gotta drop, like, a lot of other stuff that's going on. If you want the app that controls men, fine, but I feel like the stuff at school took away from the beautiful story that could have been her learning to bond with her new step family. And they have that in there, but it's so diminished because they're spending so much time doing all this other stuff, where I feel like if they had focused on her being like, oh wait, like, me doing this is technically could ruin Adam's future. You know, she doesn't realize it could ruin Adam's future until, like, the end, when she's like, wait a second, there's a scout coming to this basketball game and he won't play because he's too focused on the, like, whatever else. It took too long for her to get there, I think. And it also, I feel like there wasn't any true bonding scenes between her and her stepbrothers for them to, like, pull out of the commands because they don't abandon their pack thing that they established. It's just like they tackled so much, so every single thing is a little bit more shallow than it could have been to be really good. So, like, the romance between her and Jackson feels really unmotivated. I also feel like this actor, Spencer, and Zendaya didn't have any chemistry. I didn't really buy it. I didn't really care for it. He also just seemed, like, so fake and unreal to me. It was very cringe. The way my eyes rolled all the way back into my skull when he, like, started answering the question about the praying mantis. And then later, of course, he reads To Kill a Mockingbird, and it's her favorite book. And, like, of course To Kill a Mockingbird is her favorite book. Don't get me wrong. Great book. Obviously, that's why we learn it. But I don't know about that. It's just a really interesting way they went about this. And like there's some funny aspects to it too. I also feel like Rachel, her friend, could have called her out a bit more on some of the stuff. I don't know. I feel like if they have abandoned the love story, at least, it could have focused more. But I think truly if they abandon like the smartphone is like bad for you aspect, and then also maybe diminish the dance team stuff and focused on the family, that would have been way more interesting and a little bit more heartfelt and a little bit more of a like beautiful lesson. Where at the end of this, it's kind of like, smartphones are bad, boo, I'm throwing it away, I spend too much time on it, and boys will be boys, and sorry. Like, I feel like that's it, and it's like, oh, I don't know about this. So, and then it's got some cringy moments, like, Jackson calls her smartphone, like that's her nickname, because she goes, I limit myself to 2 hours a day. Dude, 2 hours a day on a smartphone is nothing, especially nowadays. Like, people try to keep their screen time down till even, like, 4 hours or something. Like, I feel like in 2014, they're like, oh, smartphones are bad, which, don't get me wrong, I do think screens for children at too early of an age is a problem. Don't get me wrong. That's not where I'm coming from. I just feel like this was the wrong movie to say cell phones are bad, because it was one app specifically that, like, controlled men by accident. So, like, I don't know where that lesson is coming from. Anyway, something that made me genuinely laugh out loud, like I could laugh still thinking about it, is one of her younger stepbrothers, she says, be clean, and so he just becomes like a clean freak. There's a scene where he, like, it's from inside the oven, he opens the oven and he goes, what is it? Hey, Dirt, I know you're back there, Dirt, being dirty, having a dirt party. I couldn't breathe. Though his delivery, the way he's got like a vacuum ready to go, like, I was dying. And then I wrote it down and forgot about it. And then when I went to put it in the computer document, I died all over again because I was like, I totally forgot. It's so funny and makes the movie worth it for me. Not that the movie's bad, like I think it's a fine watch, but this just, oh my god, that made me laugh so hard. Anyway, I feel like this had a lot of potential plot-wise. I feel like Jackson's character kind of had potential, but was really, really cringe and not good. I think he's the cringiest part. I also think the fart bombs from Trip were just like, what is happening? I don't understand. Another thing I think is, it's interesting to see Disney Channel try and do a movie like this, because this movie read very much like it wanted to be something like Easy A or The Duff or Bring It On, but it's a Disney Channel original movie, which means they can't swear, they can't do anything like sexual or vulgar, and that's how those movies become like true like teen comedies. And I feel like if this movie could have done that, this could have been a very good movie, but because they're like limited by what they can do on Disney Channel, it made it even like not great. Does that make sense? I do think this movie is held together by Zendaya. I think in the movie's weaker moments, Zendaya's strength lifts it up. And then in its strong moments, Zendaya is at the helm. So I do think if it were anyone else other than Zendaya, this movie would have been worse. My favorite part is the dirt line. That or the final dance. The final dance was cool. Incorporating all their weird quirks and stuff like that. That was fun. I liked that. My least favorite part was probably just the whole, like, side school stuff and dance side. It was kind of unnecessary. I wish they had focused on the family. Recommend? Sure. It's not terrible. This is definitely... We are well past the DComs I was seeing, so every DCom from, I think, like, basically Cloud 9 and Teen Beach Movie and stuff on is stuff I definitely have not seen, so this was fun to see because I feel like, you know, you get a idea that, you know, the DComs after your time have gotten worse, but this wasn't that bad. I feel like when I was younger I probably would have really liked this. I'm excited to get to like Descendants because I've heard really good things about the Descendants movies. They've obviously made a million of them, so I'm kind of excited to get to those eventually. Also, songs and musicals. I'm excited for that. But this was not that bad. Specific moments, like I said, I feel like if it could have gone like The Duff or Easy A or Bring It On route, this could have actually been pretty funny and become like pretty much kind of like one of those teen movies, but because it's on Disney Channel and limited to PG, it's not nearly as good or as like funny or as, you know, teenagery as it could have been. That's everything I have for Zapped. My final rating is 6 cell phones out of 10. Our total movie count is... Cry count is still the same. Parent death is still the same. It is very obviously her father died, but they never say he died, and it's not seen or said on screen. There's gifts from him, they refer to him, and it doesn't sound like he's just not in the picture anymore. It sounds like he passed, but they never say it, so it's the same. If you want to keep up with the movie I'm watching when, follow me on all socials. You find a movie I'm watching when. I put up videos every Monday and Friday and sometimes Wednesday. Join Patreon. I got a tier starting at just $1 where you get every video a week early, a coupon code for merch and exclusive merch access. Tiers above that, you can get daily trivia, you can get monthly postcards, you can get bonus content. Further tiers above that, you can get free merch every time there's a new merch design signed by me. So go check it out. Until next time, or buy merch, please. Until next time, comment, like, and subscribe, but I'm not in charge of your life. You are, so you, and don't be... I'm gonna go with Taylor about it. She's kind of terrible. Did I not do my closing?